Right, time for a new blading saw. This one is the one that I put in when I got this saw. 2017, I think the video shows. I've gone with the same. And this blade's done surprisingly well. It's still quite sharp. Probably see if I can sharpen that. As you can see, this is quite thick, 25mm I think. So I got me 18 gauge on this. Could use 16. Builder wants some gluing on, which for these I think I agree. This is just a 45, a straight 45. And for now, I'll just put 2 pins in. Then I'll fit the head. I'll cut a 45 on that piece, and then I can fit that, you know, get that quirk, get this quirk right. I can fit that. And if I have to, I can push that in or out just a little bit, and that'll just tweak that mitre just a little bit. A bit difficult to show you, but I just cut a normal 45 on that. Oh, let me see if I can hold it there. And that, with a quirk about right. That looks alright. There's a black line, but that's expected. So now I can cut a 45 on that end. Right, camera won't film in. But what I did was I could have fitted this end before I cut that mitre, you know, cut a 45, but then plane it or recut it if I have to. But what I did was put this pin in, then I can pull that joint in and bang another pin in. But sod's law, I've missed a little bit. But because I've only put 1 pin in this, I can bang that over just a little bit, close that up. For that, I would normally bang a pin down because then you don't see it, but I can't get my gun up there, so it's getting one through the side. I don't like this thing. It's just wrong. Now for this side.
It's good now that I can look out my window.
I just got a 45. And if the 45 isn't right and I've got to plane it a little bit and I end up losing a little bit of distance, be a little gap at the bottom, you know, as it works up, as I cut it. But it doesn't really matter that there's a little gap at the bottom because carpet will cover that. I've seen people cut a 45 on that leg, cut a 45 on that leg, and then try and fit the head in between. And what you're trying to do then is fit two miters. You know, that one might be right, but that'll mount it out. So you end up planing a bit off that, and before you know it, this corner ends up dropping down because your wood's too short. You're screwed then. So I work my way around. Right, troubles here. Right, just so happens that that's quite good. See, I'm slightly short, but I can lift it. You know, lift it up a little bit. Like I say, if there's a tiny gap at the bottom, it don't matter. But that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. That's because I put my frames in square and plumb. Oh no. Right. 2 pins at the bottom, because that gets some abuse. That'll do all others. Exactly the same. Fit that one, cut a 45, fit it on, a couple of pins just so that you can still move it around. Do the top, fit that mitre, then cut a 45, pin that on, then fit that leg, cut that mitre at 45 and then fiddle it if you have to, fettle it a little. And if it moves up, don't matter. Fit it on. Normally a pin down, but a pin in the side will be fine. Right, I'm getting a lot of misfires. I don't know if it's these old nails, but they're not bad. There's always one pin in the end there. I don't fire. I'm glad it's got this because every 10th nail does that. So I'm having to check. I'm going to check that it's nailed on. Right, these are tack-wise nails. You can see they're fairly clean. But what I've just looked at, I've got some new nails coming. I've got some DeWalt. If you look at that, these are 50mm nails. They only just go past this pin. If that's focused. So I don't know whether, you know, when it retracts, whether it's letting the pin go through. And I've read about these springs not being up to scratch. starting to wind me up a little bit, this. Every one of these that's double like that is because it didn't fire. Over here it's a mess. Here it was firing 2 pins. All the way down, look, misfire, 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 double pin. That's not so bad. Misfire, misfire, misfire on one. That's not quite down. Not on this head. Misfire, misfire, misfire. Eventually put one in, but sticking out. Misfire, misfire. That's almost impossible to get rid of, so I'm not trying to cut through it, just trying to score it a little bit. Oh, and then it'll snap off. Right, just got another jam. You see the nails do that a little bit. And when I pulled this nail out, what I noticed was, you see that top point there? The nails were a bit like that. You know, with that hard up like that. So it's not, you know, it's dry firing. So it just dry fired. You see. Fucking thing. Thought I'd pinned it. This is a head. Thought I'd pinned it. Let go of it. Fucker fell on the floor. So that's trash. Right, this one. Oh, get that out of the way. Plaster was so far out. See how much it sticks out to nothing. Fucking plasterers need to buy a level. This side's not bad, but it still kicks out a little bit at the bottom there, so I'll have to allow for that. See, this side fits fine. But what I'm about to do is cut a strip off there. That's that piece there. Cut a strip off there on the back of my architrave. You see, I rebaited it out. That's as deep as my plane will go. I could get my table saw out and get it a bit more, but it's to nothing. To nearly the thickness of a board, so 12mm. But my plane will only go, what, 10mm or something. So because this sort of kicked out as well a little bit, I've taken that edge off. So that'll go like that.
Tomorrow.
Nag, nag, nag. Right, so I'm going to put a thin strip down there. I mited it on the corner. Doesn't really matter for this square stuff, but I like to put the same architrave down that side, and then you get the same sort of miter all the way around. Yeah, there's not a lot you can do. I filled in that a little bit. Right, initially I quite like that little Milwaukee, but it's pissed me off so much that I've swapped over to the 16 gauge. Because I like that, I bought the 16 gauge. But slightly bigger hole, and if you look, it's a slot. That's because the firing pin, you know, it's like that. But it's just firing too deep. But I can't. Unless I'm missing something. I can't adjust the depth. Fucking piece of shit. Right, now runs the 16 gauge. I got the adjustment to work literally by getting a pair of needle nose pliers on it and winding that knob around. This 18 gauge inside there, I've had diamond file. See if I can open that up a bit, but no, I don't think I've made any difference on that. When they're in there, they move around like that. Like I showed you, there's no clearance there, not enough. So as soon as they start getting lower, I don't know if that's straight. I don't think I can get this out to, put a bit of angle on it so that it's pushing down like that all the time, rather than kicking up. Anyway, they don't move a lot. Yeah, I've got 45s. If I put 45s in the groove, it stops them going up. There's a little bit of clearance there. So I'm going to leave 45s in and see how it goes. Well, you can see the amount of holes on there compared to the amount of nails. See, there's loads down this side, but none down there. And that is because 45mm nails, but there's one jammed in there. when you're scribing skirtings, you've got to be careful that you don't take too much off one end because it'll be too short for the next timber to go on. slightly out there because I've twisted it round, but cork will get that. I'll sort that one out. Why can't Kim Plumbers put floorboards back down instead of this? Right, for this one, that just happens to be an offcut that fits. But what I'll do is put my mitre where I'll join a board. Because I can't get a full board in because the radiator's in the way. You've got to put it in two. But put the mitre under there or behind the pipe. Then it's not seen so easily as it would be if it was, you know, like that. You've got a choice really. You could cut the mitre that way and then your next piece sort of fits behind it, you know, it'll hold it back because you'll have fixed this one by then. I'd normally screw all these skirtings on, but builders ask for just glue and pins, so this is the next piece. Just here. That fits a bit better. Can't get into market directly off that mitre, so I'll have to just take a measurement. I'll cut it slightly long and then I can always, you know, trim a little bit off. It don't really matter if it's a bit short there, a bit of filler. Right, so we're in there. Like I say, I cut it a bit long. I can trim that off a bit. But the mitre's looking okay. Or it will be when it gets cut back. Might have been better off doing this one first, because I'm having to slide that in like that. Which means that the adhesive I'm going to have to put on the wall, because otherwise it'll scrape off as I'm sliding it in. Never mind. So that looks like it'll be okay. I've had to just put this in because we know the shape of this floor is, you know, sort of big kick in the middle. So I'll just have to just lift that just a fraction, get some pins in it, glue and stuff, and go around.